So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life Podcast. Today I have a very fifth dimensional guest with me. Nyla Nguyen is a twin flame, an old soul, a light warrior, and she's anchoring in the energy of the fifth density. So Nyla, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be on your podcast and to have this co-creation with your audience.
And I'm really excited about the conversation that we are going to have. I discovered Nyla not that long ago, actually, and I was blown away by her content, and just her authenticity, actually. I really resonated with her message and just who she was. So I knew we had to get her on the podcast. But Nyla, would you mind explaining to my audience what you're currently doing in the world?
Right now, I have a YouTube channel where I'm spreading a lot of light, which is spiritual messages, also covering current events, sharing the audience a galactic perspective, what's really going on, and explaining the back end story with what's with the current events, but from a galactic perspective. So the audience is connecting the earthly events, but from a galactic point of view. I've been activated not like a year ago. When I say activated, the higher self gave me directions and messages to create this YouTube station channel to basically help the collective transition from their third dimensional, fourth dimensional state of consciousness into the 5D, which is galactic consciousness, state of consciousness. So pretty much my whole entire life was preparing for this type of work because I had to acquire quite a bit of knowledge and experience to be able to share the stories, to be able to share my knowledge and my experiences and wisdom, so that way it will help the collective go on this ascension journey.
Beautiful. And I'm a massive believer that, though, like you just said, we're always being prepared for like our higher purpose, and quite often that we don't necessarily know what that is. But can you kind of take us back and tell us a little bit about your story, your journey? Like what we tend to do on this podcast is we really love sharing life stories about individuals like yourself who are making a difference on the planet, because I really feel that that's everybody's job. You know, it should be about service to others rather than service to self. But do you mind sharing a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, sure. I lived a very unconventional life. When I was 24, I was an executive assistant. I had a regular job like everyone else, but after 1 year of being in that corporate world, I made a decision. I'm out of here. This is it. I'm not going to go any more further, and I'm done with this kind of routine rat race. And the moment I made that decision, I started taking action. Most people, will probably be afraid. How would they make ends meet? How would they make a living? I'm not really that type of person who is fear-based. Luckily, I don't have that much fear in my body. I don't know how, because my mom is very fearful, but I'm the exact opposite of her. I'm fearless. So when I made the decision to just leave the corporate world, I started transitioning into becoming self-employed. I started taking courses to become a personal trainer, because at that time I was already following my excitement.
Yay.
I didn't know Bashar back then, but I was just following things that makes me happy, that made me have a good life. I wasn't going to go into a job just to make ends meet. So at that time I only had two things that made me happy: working out and playing tennis.
Okay.
So I decided to design my lifestyle, my new life around that lifestyle. So I got a job I didn't get a job. I went to school, get a certificate becoming a personal trainer so I can be self-employed. So that way I can start making income. But during that transition period, I was also collecting EI, which is giving you support so you can make the full jump, transition to becoming self-employed. So while I was doing that, it allowed me to also have time to play tennis and live my new lifestyle. And then once I got bored of that lifestyle, I also then moved out of Vancouver. Then I moved to LA. And then in LA, I learned how to make money online by building my own websites, becoming an internet marketer, and I kind of taught myself these things because again, I follow my excitement. Vancouver
Yeah.
was no long, Vancouver was no longer exciting me. That personal training career was no longer fulfilling me. It was my intuition and my heart saying, okay, you know what? You need to go out of your comfort zone. You need to change now. Then I made the jump to go to LA. I lived in LA for a couple of years. I had an online business where I was building websites. And then, I got inspired by another story where this internet marketer was making money online and traveling the world. And then I took the next jump and figure out how to make money online and start traveling the world. That's when I left LA and I started traveling around the world.
So can we just dig in just before we keep going, because I think this is really
Yes.
interesting. Like, you and I spoke before the podcast, and we both discovered we had this love and passion for Bashar. And I obviously, in your sharing, you're saying that you have been fearless and you've just followed your excitement. And people who have listened to this podcast for a while know I talk about following your highest excitement, and you're a really beautiful example of it. Um, so literally, was that a conscious thing at that point, or were you conscious of what you were doing? When did it become conscious that you were following your excitement?
I was doing these things at an unconscious level because it was the only way to go. It was the only way to live to make myself happy because the other way was not going to make me very happy. Going
Sure.
back to the matrix, living 95, it would be that way of living would have been soul crushing for me.
Yeah.
So I had no other alternative but to follow my excitement. And that led to a lot of synchronicities. You meet a lot of people that you're not supposed to meet to help give you the support, the foundation. Like, for example, by me following my excitement going to LA, I met my roommate in LA, and then magically just spontaneously manifested our apartment, sharing our apartment with him in LA. I didn't need to plan how I was going to live in LA and where I was going to make money. It just kind of fell into place when I felt my excitement. People just showed up, opportunity showed up at the right time, at the right place, and things kept on doing like that until I am where I am. Because this kind of journey is like it's like over 12 years that I'm talking about,
Sure.
because I was in that space for quite some time. And then I'm also doing this YouTube broadcast because I've been called by the higher self to step into this role and to share my knowledge for the collective.
Fabulous. So one of the things before we get onto the channel, one of the things I really want to dig into is, obviously, you and I both know Bashar's work. And one of the things I always talk to my audience about is, we live in an abundant universe. Abundance is everywhere. Like, having the opportunity to do what we want to do when we want to do it means that we're abundant. So, in your experience of following your highest excitement, following your excitement, have you always just experienced this flow of having money when you needed it? And like, because I think that's the bit that people can't grasp. I find they get scared about, like you said, leaving their secure jobs. Everything always
Well,
works out.
I can tell you, before I met Bashar and after I met Bashar, the life is totally different. Even though before I met Bashar, following my excitement, yes, I had challenges along the way. Yes, I encountered, of course, financial challenges because I didn't quite know how to manifest abundance on a conscious level at that time. I was still fairly inexperienced in actually understanding how the universe actually works because I didn't have Bashar's guidance to give me that information. I was just following things that made me happy.
Sure.
After studying Bashar's work extensively and applying his knowledge into my life, then I started learning how to really do it at a conscious level. And one of the main problems that people have with consciously manifesting abundance into their life is that they're not living in the now. They're always living in the future or in the past. And when you're living in the future and in the past, you're putting the ego in charge. That means the ego is now running the show. When the ego is running the show, it's going to be attracting a lot of chaos into your life, negative synchronicity that you don't prefer. So one of the things people need to correct is that they need to be more in the present, living in the now. Stop worrying about the bill that's a month in advance. Stop worrying out time about future events because then you're putting your consciousness in future timeline that doesn't exist yet.
And you're creating that.
Yeah, you're creating that. So therefore, when you think of the future like that, you're already lowering your vibration. You're dropping your vibration. And when you're vibrating at a low level, at that fear, anxiety, scarcity, lack, poverty, consciousness, the universe has no choice but to give you that reality because you're vibrating at that reality. So that's the critical component people need to kind of understand is where are they resonating at? Where are they vibrating at? That will give you an indication what kind of reality you're going to be experiencing. The other thing that got me to flip the switch is identifying the limiting belief system that you have regarding
Mm,
money and your relationship with money. Because we want to attract abundance, but we have a lot of belief systems that are contradictory to manifesting that. Like money is
mm,
the root of all evil,
mm-hmm.
money is from thin air,
Yeah.
rich people are corrupt or bad. So these are all very self-limiting belief system regarding money and a negative relationship with money. So therefore that blocks you from receiving the abundance that you're supposed to be getting. The other thing too is that you have to be more conscious of putting yourself in a higher vibratory state of being, which is in a state of gratitude. Always wake up
Beautiful.
with an attitude of gratitude and going to bed with an attitude of gratitude. If people can correct those three things, the abundance will click in and things will start rolling in for them just automatically.
And a question for you. So I love what you're saying about following the excitement, obviously looking at your beliefs, looking at making sure you're in the moment with everything. Say, for example, you're looking to create something, you want to manifest and create something in the future. What's your advice around having, would you expect people or like people to have a vision, but then obviously stay non attached to it? How would you?
You have to have a vision for sure, because the vision is your imagination, and creating that vision is your way of communicating to the higher self what you want to experience. And the higher self will take that vision and then start leading you down that road through synchronicities. But you have to be intuitive to actually follow your heart when it's guiding you. And following your heart is actually following your excitement, things that makes you happy. It doesn't have to be huge, like crazy excitement. I'm just talking about things that actually makes you happy. If you feel like going for a walk, going for dinner, going for doing something with a friend,
Mm,
of all the options you have available, reading a book, watching TV, going for a walk, going for a bicycle, hanging with a friend, which is the most exciting activity that you're going to do? Just pick
mm,
the one that's most exciting, and then you lead your life like that, doing the most exciting activity, leading you on that path. And then it will lead you to synchronicity, to meet the right people at the right time, having the right opportunity come at you. And this is how you live a life of excitement, synchronicity, and positivity. So that's been kind of the key in me kind of like attracting these kind of synchronicity in my life. I just do what my heart tells me to do, that's it.
beautiful. Beautiful. So,
Sorry, before you
mm,
ask me that question, I like to introduce to my audience who Bashar is, because your audience knows Bashar, but I have
sure.
a whole bunch of
Mm,
subscribers that probably have no idea who Bashar is. So Bashar is an extraterrestrial that is channeled by Daryl Anka. They come from the SSI civilization 1,000 years ahead of our timeline, if we were to think about time in a linear space and time. But they are also a version of our higher self. So when we are listening to channelings by Daryl Anka, you're actually connecting with your higher self. So that's why Bashar has been probably one of the most important spiritual and galactic teachers that I've like personally studied from, and he's made the biggest transformation in my life.
And I would concur because you and I were geeking out, weren't you, when we found out that we were both like, I lap up his stuff. I just absolutely love it. And similar to your story, like since I've applied his principles, like I actually met. I was sharing with Nyla before we spoke. I actually met Dharma at a conference I went to in America, and then had him on the Dharma Life podcast. It was all kind of felt like this just beautiful synchronistic flow because I was really, I desperately wanted to go to that conference, and money wise, if I'd let my head get in the way, I wouldn't have gone, but my heart totally made me go. And of
Yeah.
course, it generated this incredible experience. So his work, I really, really, really like. So you've spent basically a big portion of your life studying, obviously, Bashar's work, metaphysics. And then talk to me about your activation, because you mentioned a year ago you just got this download that this was what you needed to do.
Yeah, I was in the kitchen just cleaning. Cleaning is also a form of meditation. Your hands are busy, your mind is empty. So the higher self came through and just said simply, create a YouTube channel, 3D to 5D consciousness. You're going to be guiding people to move from their 3D, 4D state of conscious into 5D. I'm like, oh shoot, okay. I better start going again into this, and I didn't really know what these terminology even really means, right? So that already put me into a path of actually investigating, digging up what these terminology really means, because they were just downloads of me.
Yeah.
3D, you're taking these people from 3D, 4D, and going to 5D. I'm like, okay, what does all that mean? So, but this guidance that the higher self gave me a lot of clarity in what I need to do, because for a long time I wanted to do something. That didn't really have a purpose. I was just doing things that made me happy, but it didn't have really a greater purpose,
Higher,
a
sure, higher
higher
purpose.
purpose. You know what I mean? I was
Mm.
doing things to help the collective and helping people, but there doesn't seem to be a higher purpose that tie this all together. There was a lack of clarity. Is more what I want to say. But when the transmission came through, then I made the connection. I got it now. So
Mm. Yeah, and
many people will have the calling, but few will answer the call.
I was just about to say, not exactly that, but I was
Yes.
just about to say, if you get an idea, because that's such a similar story to me in the podcast. Like when I came out of my running a business, I just thought, I just want to do what I want to do now. And I just used to go for long walks. And that's what I got. I needed to start a podcast and I didn't really know why. But I listened, like you said, you get the call and it's worth listening to.
What I think stops most people from living an extraordinary and amazing life is just really their fear and their comfort zone.
Mm,
A lot of people are stopped because of their fear of being judged, fear of being wrong, fear of failure, fear. What my tip is for people who are resonating this vibration is that if you want to live a higher reality with um, much more abundance, much more joy and happiness, you actually have to be vibrating at a higher vibration to
mm,
manifest that reality. So therefore,
mm,
you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and
mm,
transform yourself on a personal level, but also start understanding on a metaphysical level the laws that this universe all abide by. Understanding the law of attraction is really, really important, because that makes the manifestation process a lot easier, because you understand how to do it at a conscious level instead of trying to figure things out. Now you really know how to do it at a conscious level. And I share that information very freely on my YouTube channel. I don't
mm,
charge people a penny for that. I don't have a book written yet. I want to write a book, but my time is kind of limited. And I don't have a course and any of this stuff. And my YouTube channel is also not monetized. So this information is just given to the collective freely, because I want the collective to understand how they are doing this at a conscious level, because we are being asked right now to now co-create the new earth, the new 5D
yes.
earth. And you need
Yes.
to understand how is it you're using your imagination to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you and I were on the same team. That's
Mhm.
exactly the purpose of the podcast, is to educate people. And the thing is, it's possible for everybody. I think that's what is really important. Is you're right, Nyla. You do have to get out your comfort zone. You do have to stretch yourself, because your your dream life isn't inside your comfort zone. So you are going to have to get uncomfortable. But if you get used to being uncomfortable, then actually you kind of thrive off it. Um,
I was very uncomfortable being on social media. I was a hermit for like 8 years. So
yeah.
imagine being a hermit for 8 years and now transitioning, jumping, and exposing my life on Facebook, on YouTube. It's very, frightening. But
Yeah.
you have to do that personal development work into changing your belief system, changing your perspective, so that way
Mm.
you can get out of that comfort zone and do things that's uncomfortable until you do become very comfortable doing it. And then you start becoming very comfortable, and then you start speaking with more confidence, more authority, because now you have a lot of experience and knowledge to back you up.
Yeah, it's incremental, isn't it? It's kind of like the more you do it, the easier it gets. But it is, I've, personally, I've had to push through so much stuff just to get where doing what I'm doing today. But I would say to everybody listening, it's so worth it because, who wants to live a sort of boring, mundane existence? Life's about really coming here to experience it and make a difference. And I think you're a great example of
You
what
asked me,
happens.
yeah, you asked me a question before. How do people manifest the life they desire, they want to have? My first is, I didn't really quite answer that question in totality. The first thing you need to have is obviously the vision. The vision is very, very important because that vision is the communication to the higher self.
Yes.
The second is being intentional with that vision. When I say intentional, it means that you set the intention of what you want to create, but you also detach from the outcome, from the result. You let the higher self manifest how it needs to manifest for that reality to be real. You don't get attached to how it's going to happen. That's not really your job of how it's going to be unraveling or unveiling. Your job is just to really communicate to the higher self. This is what I want to create. Give as many details as possible, be explicit, and then why you want to create it. The how comes from the higher self and how it's going to lead you into experiencing that reality. And when I say you have to be intentional, it means that you cannot have a single shred of fear or doubt in your manifestation plan. There's not even a speck of sand in you manifesting this reality. Because if you have even the slightest speck of doubt, fear, or worry, it stops that process completely and you're going to go back to square one. So when I wanted to manifest Gazzara for the collective, when I found out about Gazzara for the collective, I became very intentional. I put all of my energy, all of my resources towards and creating this YouTube channel to make sure I raise as much awareness as possible about Gazzara, because I know the more I can shed light into people understanding Gazzara, it brings it into reality a lot faster.
So let's do that. So let's talk about it because obviously you and I know about Gazzara and Nazara, but people listening might not necessarily know about it. So can you share? Because I'm with you, like I feel it, like I know that this breakdown that we're having globally behind the scenes, Gazzara is coming.
Yeah.
So
GESAR, it stands for the Global Economic Securities and Reformation Act. It is the act that's going to be liberating the human collective from economic slavery, from the cabal system. It's meant to design to give us a ton of abundance so that way we don't need to work these slave hours of 40 hours a week. The galactics don't want human to be slaves. We're not designed to come into this reality be working that many hours. Other galactic beings only work about 3-4 hours per day, and it's in service of things they love to do, not a job they hate to do. It is to be in service for others, but it's in connection with their heart, what they love to do, what they like to share and express. So the Jisara is going to be liberating the planet from this economic slavery, so that way you don't need to go to a job that you're toiling at and you hate just to make ends meet. You're going to have provisions provided for you, free energy, free technology that's going to heal people, and we're going to be catapulted to a fifth dimensional earth, because there's going to be so much technology that's going to be given to us that was being kept away from the collective consciousness. So it's going to be a totally different reality for a lot of people, because we're waiting for this technology. We're still driving, gasoline combustible automobiles, while other galactics are driving, or powering
Tesla.
powering spaceships with their consciousness, anti-gravitational machines with their consciousness. So Jisara is going to get rid of the income tax system, clear up the debt that's a part of the cabal system. Is going to introduce the quantum financial system, which is a much more transparent and free and honest financial system that is gold backed, which is real money. this is a temporary financial system because obviously the transition is to make us fully abundant. So that way we no longer need money to trade. Then we start trading freely with other galactic beings and trade freely amongst each other. So it's just a temporary system while we're transitioning to becoming a non-monetary system in about 30 years' time.
Beautiful. And I suppose the easiest way to describe this is the fact that obviously at the moment, the distribution of wealth on this planet is 1% have, billions and billions and far too much. And everybody else is kind of, you've got the middle section working for a living and slaves trade in the middle. And then you've got obviously developing countries who don't have anything. So it's basically the even distribution of wealth across the planet.
Well, money is just a tool that the cabal created to control the resources, to control the resources, to control the collective consciousness. And they want us to pay for everything on this planet when it was supposed to be given to us for free. We're supposed to have food, water, shelter, everything for free. All the other galactic beings have everything for free, provide for them by the planet, because we are loved by the source and by the planet. So everything is provided for free. But these negative alien entities hijack this experiment and invade the planet and our human vessel with this antichrist consciousness virus. This is why we have the problems we have on the planet, is because of this antichrist consciousness of the duality and separation consciousness, right? So then they start, charging us for a planet that we are supposed to be living for free, having all these provisions given to us for free. Yeah. This is the travesty that they're creating for the human collective.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah. So their time is ending. I'd like to share with people the positive timeline that Gazzara is being implemented right now. Spain is already the first country to announce the UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is going to be now a permanent thing, because a lot of people are telling me, it's going to be just a one-time relief, coronavirus
Spain
relief.
Have actually announced it, have they?
Yeah, Spain had already announced it, that they're going to do UBI, Universal Basic Income, for all the people permanently. So we have to watch for other countries that's going to be doing the same. All of the countries will become Gazzara compliant. And if the countries don't become Gazzara compliant, they're going to be worse than a third world country. They're going to be like a fourth or fifth world country, really, really in the dark behind technology and not really a part of the quantum financial system.
And obviously at the moment we're experiencing the current system breaking down. And one of the things I always like to say is, we always have breakdowns before breakthroughs. So what's your kind of prediction around the next 4 years? Because I personally think a lot of these older paradigm systems are going to collapse to make way for new.
I also learn a lot from the Pleiadians too, and the Pleiadians have said that within 2 years the complete matrix will collapse. So within this 1 year period of time, we're going to see major changes already. What we're going through right now is already a huge change with the whole world being under quarantine. U.S. military and all these other military forces are rescuing children underneath these bunkers. That's why we're under quarantine. They want people off the streets while they're doing these military operations, so that way the cabal is not doing retaliation on the surface population. So this is why we're being asked to stay at home. It's for our own protection. A lot of changes are being implemented. A lot of these prominent public figures are coming down with coronavirus. So that's just code word that they're being arrested. They're under house arrest, being interrogated. I cover this extensively in my channel, so that way my audience are informed on these code words and what they mean. And usually when they are arrested like this under the guise of being positive for coronavirus, they only have two options. It's going to be either death or Gitmo. Most of them will probably choose death, because if you choose to go to Gitmo, you're going to be facing public prosecution, and many of them don't want public prosecution, because then all of their crimes are being exposed to the collective consciousness. So they usually choose death to save their legacy, but also to save their family as well too, of the shame and all the harassment.
And apparently, the first arrest is going to be send a shockwave around the world. Any predictions?
It was mentioned that it was going to be Hillary Clinton. So it could be probably Hillary Clinton. And because she's the head witch. She is like the head witch of this whole Illuminati, and they want to use her as an example. So this is what has been channeled by Sharon and Ivel, that the Pleiadians say Hillary Clinton will probably be the first one to be indicted.
Sharon Ibel.
No, Sharon and Ivo.
An Ivo. Oh, okay. Wow. So it's exciting times. I think if you're listening to this podcast, you will hopefully listen to my 2 podcasts on the Great Awakening. So what we're talking about here won't be a complete surprise to you. But really, the way you need to hold this is that we're going through an evolution, and often that there are breakdowns before breakthroughs. So I think it's really important that we're having this conversation, Nyla, because like you said, it's really important that we uphold the best possible timeline that we can, which is obviously Nezra and Gazzara coming into play. I want to go back to your story just quickly, because so from getting the download in the kitchen to putting things into practice, like how, because I know you haven't actually been doing your YouTube channel that long, really, and it's just gone.
Yeah, I've been only doing it for a year. For a year, my audience, my subscriber was only about 1,000, because it was really struggling to grow. Because I know it was being suppressed by the dark ones. My channel has really got very excellent content, but it was not growing because it's been heavily suppressed and shadow banned. And then for a split moment, the white hats changed the algorithm, and then within a span of 2 days, it just shot up. Within a span of 2 weeks now, it's gone from like 1,000 to like now 25,000 subscribers.
Amazing.
So that goes to show you that how suppressed my channel was, and how heavily shadow banned my message was. And even now, I'm getting emails from one of my viewers saying that he subscribed to my channel 5 times because they unsubscribed him.
Wow, really?
5 times. He had to subscribe to the channel 5 times because they have unsubscribed him, because he would subscribe and then he would go back and they would unsubscribe him. So he's also leaving me comments saying that they're not allowing him to comment and stuff. So the evil ones, the dark ones, are still trying to control and manipulate the information that's being shared on YouTube, because YouTube is the major platform where people are getting their information from now. They don't go to their news source anymore. And my channel is one of the few channels that's really giving people the galactic perspective, but also giving people very accurate intel and news and the back end story of what's really going on. So this is why the channel has exploded the way it has.
Fantastic. So obviously we'll put all your details and everything in the show notes so people can find you. But your website, just for...
My website, NylaNguyen.com for now. It's just, I put up like a 1-page landing site just to accept donations, because the site and my work is not really monetized. I don't have anything for monetization. I want the work to be put out into the collective for free, so that way you guys can use the information and start transforming your life, raising your vibration, anchoring in the new higher vibration. So you lift this planet to the 5th dimension, so that way we can all co-create the 5D new earth. This, for me, is more important than monetization. I knew monetization will come from the universe through different ways, but for me, what's more important is that the collective helps to raise the vibration of this planet, so that way we can co-create the new earth together.
And can we talk about anchoring in the 5th density as well? Because it would be great if we could have that discussion on this podcast. What can people do if they're listening? Because obviously we've talked about beliefs, we've talked about your thoughts, we've talked about beliefs, what can people do to anchor in their energy to the 5th dimension?
Sure. You're a multidimensional being. You have a spiritual body, a mental body, an emotional body, and a physical body. This is the 4 dimensions, the four bodies I'm going to talk about, because there's actually much more galactic bodies that you are connected to, but these are the 4 that most people are used to. How to anchor in the 5th dimensional energy is, 1, you have to work on expanding your consciousness, moving out of limitation and fear. So if you go onto my channel, I explain very clearly the different states of consciousness, 3D, 4D, and 50. So when people tune into that broadcast, they really have a very clear understanding where they're vibrating at. So the expansion of your consciousness, moving out of fear, limitation, poverty consciousness, going into going into unity consciousness, no longer seeing things as separation, duality is very, very important. Then you move into the mental body and just vibrating at a very higher vibration of being positive, um, giving positive meanings to things that happen to your life, so that way you have a positive outcome. That will also keep your vibration high, also your emotional state of being as well too. So don't react, learn to respond. you know that's also critical. Like when circumstances are happening in your reality, get into the habit of learning how to respond instead of reacting, because the reacting is the third dimensional state of consciousness where you are using the reptilian brain, whereas responding would be uh, your higher self, thinking a little bit more critically how you want to assess the situation and respond to the whatever situation you're being challenged with, for example.
Mm.
And then your actions, make sure your actions is also in alignment with the new reality, the new earth, which is mostly positivity. Moving into being unlimited is very, very critical. No more having limitations, because the 5D earth, there is no more limitation. Everything is possible. Anything and everything is possible for you to create. So you move out of that state of
Limited
consciousness
thinking.
where it's limited. So
Mm.
this is the transitioning.
Yeah, and one of the things that I always try and do myself is ask myself, what would the highest version of me do? You were saying about
Exactly.
reacting and responding. So just taking a moment to reflect and say, what would the highest version of me do? And that generally changes my
Like
response.
you want to ask yourself, how would the highest version of yourself look like? How would they think?
Mm,
How would they behave? How would they act? How would they sound?
mm.
The highest version of you is divine and galactic. And these guys, these galactics, they're very loving, unconditional loving, and they're very forgiving. They're very joy. They're very abundant, very positive. You get just a very good vibe just connecting with them. Like for example, Bashar.
Yeah.
You get a very good vibe being in their energy.
So I'm wondering how you can play with that. Like, in our community, Nyla, we give everybody a vision for their life, and we give them a vision that they're working towards. So, for example, one of my guys we've nicknamed him the $1 million artist, because that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be selling his portraits for $1 million. And we had a retreat, and we got everybody to dress up as their future selves. So I'm just wondering, with what you're sharing, how you could do that, like you said, come as your future self, because it's the whole thing is like embodying it, isn't it? Like, it's one thing to sort of think about it, but it's actually embodying those beliefs, those thoughts, so they are your reality, and that's the shift that we've got to take. So I'm just wondering how we could do that.
Just take action. Just take I wouldn't say massive action because that's too much of a jump for many people. Just take small little actions in everyday life. I think the biggest shift you can do is, like, if people just start taking care of their health, eating more clean, living a healthier lifestyle, that already makes your vibration a lot higher, because now you're resonating a lot higher. Your temple is clear of toxins. Your thoughts should be also very conscious and positive, not believing into negativity and negative timeline.
What was your opinion on this mass meditation? Because I thought that was quite interesting as well, because obviously these global mass meditations were announced. And then I don't know if did you hear it? There's like a ripple of whether they were positive or negative that then followed through.
Good. It spiked up tremendously on the human resonance.
76.
76,
Yeah.
sorry, 76. It went far higher than that. But meditation, when you go into meditation, you are moving out of the lower three chakras and going to the three higher chakras. So that way, you actually move out of the lower vibration. So that way, that means that you're actually embodying the higher frequency, raising the planet's frequency, because you have a root chakra that's anchoring to the planet. So where you vibrating at, you have a direct effect on the planet. So when collectively, when we join in this mass meditation and we're raising our vibration, we're helping to anchor this energy into the earth, and we're making it very, very inhospitable for these negative beings, because they can't thrive on this high vibration. They hate it. They can't stand it. So you're helping the light force win this battle against good and evil, forces of evil and good.
So, moral of the story for people listening, make sure that you're holding this of what's happening on the planet at the moment, in the highest regard. Make sure that you are focusing on all the good things that are coming through this recreation that we're going through. Don't let it sink you into depression. Hold it in a positive light. Hold it as a breakthrough. And it's really important that we are meditating and that we are sending our energy up and help anchoring in this new fifth dimensional energy.
And if you feel like you're worried or you're fearful, and just ask the higher self to guide you to the right people that'll give you the correct information, so you're not in this state. It's very important that you move out of that fearful state, that poverty consciousness, that confused, doubt, worry, fear state. So that way you're not anchoring this energy into the planet. Whatever you're vibrating in, you're affecting the planet's energy and the collective energy. We're all one. People have to understand that we're all one. So
unity consciousness.
Yeah, and energy is also infectious, So many people are not aware of that. But yeah, if you're vibrating at a lower energy, a lower state of consciousness, you're affecting the planet, but you're also pulling down the collective consciousness, energy, and vibration as well too. So that way, do your research. Ask your higher self to guide you to the right people, to give you the right information, so you move out of this vibration and you want to go into that journey of transforming yourself to be the best and highest version of yourself, so you can experience this 5D reality that's going to be soon unveiling.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
Any last words for our audience, Nyla?
Any last words? Just enjoy the show, guys. Love the things that's playing on the media is only for optics. Tune out of the media, because you're being lied to. Do your own research. After you're doing your own research, you're strengthening your connection with your higher self, because it's guiding you through this process. And the more research you do over the course of years, it actually leads you to becoming more intuitive. So this is what I've become now, because your higher self is very intuitive. It's no longer the logical version of you. The logical version of you is the lower self. The higher version of you is intuitive. So it uses all this body of research and information that you have acquired during this transformation process for you to becoming intuitive.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Oh, Nyla, thank you so much. You and I think, could talk all day.
Yeah, well, you got Bashar and Carmen, are nerds, so.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg, I think. But no, thank you for everything you're doing. Go and check Nyla out. We'll have all of her details in the show notes. Her work's incredible. The YouTube channel is just amazing. I've just been, I think I binged watched about 6 episodes in a row. So yeah, go and check her out. And it's exciting times, guys. It's really important how we hold this. We are evolving as the humanity, and we are going into this unity consciousness. And you chose to be here at this time. So
yeah. And the more awakened you can become, you can truly appreciate what an incredible experience that we're going through. I mean, there's other galactic beings, but they're just witnessing this. They're just watching this. We are actually in it.
in it.
Yeah, we're actually living it. So if you can be more awakened and conscious of what's going on, you are really basking in the moment. You're truly living in the moment and taking this all in. This is the whole, actually, one of the reasons why I kind of transitioned my YouTube channel from being a spiritual metaphysics channel to also covering current events. So that way I wanted my audience to know, hey, this is really what's going on behind the scenes. So you guys appreciate what's going on, so you guys are not panicking and freaking out. So
fantastic. Thank you so much. We will see you next week with another guest on the Dharma Life Podcast. Thank Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life Podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.